All right, if the skin tones in your portrait seem lifeless or just uninteresting or fake, you're really going to like this video because I'm going to teach you about my color map for the face that I have in my head every single time I'm painting a portrait. All right, welcome to Paint Coach. If you're new to the channel, my name's Chris Fornatero, and I help thousands of students every single month get better at painting through my online courses and tutorials. So here I just have my one of my planes of the head. If you want to get one of those, it's at planesofthehead.com. I'll put a link in the description to where you can get those. I get a lot of people asking me where do I get these. They're made by John Asaro, great portrait artist. Yeah, he sells them. Highly recommend picking one up. Just got a linen panel here, toned it, and then with just it's got a little bit of ivory black and yellow ochre, a little bit of red in there. Wiped with put some Gamsol, wiped with a paper towel, got it drawn on. My palette I'm keeping very simple. I'm pretty much using the Zorn palette plus crimson. If you don't know, the Zorn palette is ivory black, cadmium red, yellow ochre, and titanium white. I find that this is very helpful for beginners with skin tones because one, it limits your options. If you have a whole bunch of colors out there, it's a lot of choices, a lot of decisions. This limits your choices and makes things more simple. And also, you can just think of it like the primaries, but your blue is desaturated to a black and your yellow is desaturated to yellow ochre. So naturally, your skin tones are just going to look more natural, not super orange or, super blue or something like that. And I've got some Gamsol here. So first I'm going to start with just the kind of main three color areas of the face. And a lot of this has to do with just the blood vessels in the skin. So the forehead, most of the time, it's going to get some yellow ochre. It's going to tend to be a little more on the yellow side. So if I get some yellow ochre, a little bit of white, maybe a touch of the crimson, and a little bit of the ivory black, saturate it even more. Well, something like that should work. Now I'm just being very generic with this for the sake of the exercise, and I'll probably exaggerate it a little bit. But I'm just going to kind of do what I would do if I was painting this, which is I'll just fill it in with all one colored value here. And I'll come back in the second pass, talk about how I lighten these in the areas that I need to and darken them in the areas I need to. So whenever you're painting a portrait, look for this. Now, this doesn't mean that it's always going to be extremely obvious, but that doesn't mean that you can't enhance it if you see it that way. I gotta clamp this down so it stops squeaking. Because a lot of times photos don't give all this information. Sometimes it does, you just need to know to look for it. And that's what I hope this video does for you, is helps you know, or helps train you to look for it more. All right. All right, we are moving right along here. Next, cheeks and the nose tend to be more red. So a lot of times I'll just keep the same pile here and just branch off, push a little bit of crimson into it. A little yellow ochre. Maybe a little bit more here. Still a little bit of black to desaturate it. Really try and think about that black like it's a blue. I kind of recommend beginners, when painting, try not to use black. I mean, I know I just said, like, for beginners, use black or the Zorn palette. That's kind of the one, caveat to that, because I feel like a lot of times, if you let students use black, they'll just use it to darken every single color they have. And you don't want that to happen. All right, so I'm just kind of going through here in the cheeks. And also, a lot of times you can kind of see this red kind of comes up into the, like right above the eyebrows a little bit. Now, while I got the red, another area that's red is the ears for the same reason. So I'm just gonna block these in Block this one ear in very simply. Now, around the mouth, this is like kind of my favorite part, which is a lot of times it gets cooler, grayer. Sometimes it shows up as a green. Sometimes it's like a purplish color. And a lot of times I like to use the ivory black and the yellow ochre because it's like yellow and blue, gives you a green. Notice how I'm mixing it right next to my other colors on my palette. That way I can compare it. If I need to, I can kind of pull a color in there. Something like that. I like that. I just need to mix up a little bit more of it. Maybe a touch of the crimson. And the reason that this is like this, or it's this color, is because of small little hairs on the face that tend to be here. Even if the person doesn't have a beard or can't grow a beard like me, you're still going to see it a little bit. It's interesting, a lot of, there are certain portrait painters I've seen that if they're painting like a model, especially like for practice, they'll purposely ask them not to wear makeup so that they can see these color shifts in the face a lot more. If you want to see it done really, really well, look at some old masters like John Singer Sargent or Joaquin Sorolla, and I feel like they, really found those, and it's really cool to see how well they made them work in their paintings. So here we go. All right, now I'm just going to put in the shadowed side of the face just to kind of have that reference point. And honestly, a lot of times it's hard to see these variations in the shadows. So I'm going to, a lot of times with the shadows like ivory black and some cad red, good warm shadows. So I'm just going to just kind of get these in so we can see it in relation to everything else. All right, so we got these three main color areas of the face. You've probably seen this before. You've probably seen it referred to as like the color zones of the face, but let's go beyond this. And let's put some of these lights in. So in the forehead, still want to get some, mainly the yellow ochre, a little white, still a touch of the crimson here. This is going to be right here. And then I'm going to go even lighter with some more white for kind of the brightest area that I see, kind of right there. Now coming down to the cheek area, just going to do the same thing, just push a little bit of white, maybe still a little bit of yellow ochre. Don't want it too vibrant, maybe a little bit of ivory black in there, maybe a touch of yellow ochre. Seeing that right there, it gets a little bit lighter. Also, see this a lot like on the bridge of the nose. You can see it here on the corner of the model. This really bright highlight. A lot of times you'll recognize that on the bridge of the nose a lot of times. Now with this ear, I'm also gonna, it's definitely lighter right there. And a lot of times I find myself going towards the cadmium red and a little bit of the ivory black for these warm shadows in the ear, something like that. Now coming down to around the mouth, just going to kind of start again in some pile here that's close to what I'm going for with this yellow ochre, this ivory black, trying to push it lighter. Oh, I like that. Again, it's going to be grayer or cooler around areas of the mouth. And maybe kind of pushing a little more towards the purple with the crimson and the ivory black, kind of up here on the side of the face as I lighten this side plane right there. And a little lighter right there. All right, so now we found different values within those color areas. Let's go even further. A very interesting area that I feel like a lot of people miss are the corners of the eyes or the eyelids, which tend to be even cooler or grayer. You know, think about like when someone's really tired, like the dark, darkness under their eyes. That's always going to be there to a certain degree. So if you take a little bit of ivory black, maybe a little bit of crimson, again, can sometimes show up slightly different colors, but it always tends to be cooler and a little grayer. Kind of right under there. This model doesn't have the planes of the eyelids, but it still works. Another thing is the corners of the mouth, like where it gets dark in the little corner of the mouth, they can tend to be cooler and grayer too. So it's not really, it's a planes of the head model, but if this was a portrait, I'd probably push some of this yellow ochre and ivory black into kind of the desaturated green if I needed kind of the dark little shadow right there. You'll see that a lot of times in portraits. I actually feel like I can push this even lighter. Same right there. Now, another thing, it's not, it's more of like a value thing, is top lip tends to be darker than the bottom lip just because it's not catching as much light. But even within that, the light's coming from the left side, so I could probably lighten up this left side of the top lip. Just a little bit and keep the other side darker. Maybe even add a little bit of white here. Kind of see how light. And then the bottom lip is always lighter because it's more like a shelf. And pushing some white. For a plane within that, because there's 3 planes in the bottom left, this plane here in the center and then off to the side. Now another part of this map is a lot of times with hair, kind of the same principle as the side of the face getting grayer. It's going to happen like around the eyebrows or the hairline. There's no hair on this model, but we can imagine if there were some eyebrows, it'd probably come back to this kind of desaturated green with the yellow ochre and the ivory black. And like imagine if there was eyebrows here and kind of where they blend into the skin, help a lot. If there was like a mustache, it's a similar thing. You could probably even push a little more of this color like really close to around the mouth too, especially if it was a guy that had like some stubble or something. So there you go. Now that you know these, you can look for them next time you're painting a portrait and identify them. Or if they're not there, maybe you take your artistic license and enhance them a little bit to add some variety and just bring some more life to your portraits. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. If you'd like some 1 minute long bite-sized lessons, I got those on my Instagram at Forza43. I'm Chris Fornatero here telling you to go get painting.